Hey, gaming community. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming Fun with Hot Blood Evolved. My name is Eagle Eye.
And this is Noble. Welcome to the podcast.
So, Noble, we are back at it yet again with another episode for the Halo campaign rankings. And we're down to the top three.
Yes.
And there's only a few left, so people are starting to notice what's going to be left, right? I mean,
Right.
It's one of three options. And today we talked about one that, this is going to be kind of a fun thing because you and I ranked it pretty high, but we've heard mixed reviews on it, right?
Yes.
So, as we've ranked this one third, we gave it an A ranking. And which one is it?
This one is Halo 4.
Halo 4. We thought it was great. We thought it was everything we wanted, but just missing the mark on getting that S ranking, right?
Right.
So, let's get into the recap so that way we can discuss this for everyone else out there, okay? All right. Everyone note, this is the section of spoiler alerts. If you have not played this game and plan to, or if you're currently in the middle of playing it and you don't want to know what happens, this is your cue to turn it off, okay? You're going to hear a bunch of things that you're not going to want to hear. So, all right. The campaign starts. Halo 4 begins on July 21st, 2557. Cortana had laid silent for almost 5 years and had noticed that the ship's intruder alerts have activated in attempts to wake up Master Chief from cryosleep. Cortana notifies him that in his sleep, she rewrote the firmware of his armor, upgrading the HUD and the armor capabilities. Chief slips Cortana's chip back into his neural interface and sets off to find the source of the disturbance. Suddenly, a Sangheili swordsman comes charging at the Spartan. After neutralizing the threat, John questions Cortana, the AI construct, on why his once formidable allies have attacked them, to which she has no answer. John makes his way to the aft observant deck, viewing a large former Covenant fleet surrounding the Ford onto Dawn, while multiple boarding crafts dock with the heavily damaged aft section of the frigate. Chief and Cortana subsequently make a crash landing on the Forerunner world Requiem, entering the inner planet shell via an entrance in the Dyson sphere-like superstructure. Recovering a Warthog, Chief and Cortana vow to make their way back to Earth in order to find a cure for Cortana's escalating rampancy. They set out to find a way to contact the UNSC, circumventing the powerful jamming field surrounding the world. Fighting through numerous Covenant hunting parties, Master Chief is attacked by an advanced Forerunner combat constructs, which Cortana identifies as Prometheans. Evading or destroying pursuit, Chief attempts to warn the approaching UNSC Infinity of the dangerous artificially induced gravity field that had caused the Ford unto Dawn to crash. After disabling the two control nodes, it became clear to Chief that a great threat had once been imprisoned within Requiem, the Diadact, the Forerunner's greatest warrior, who is released from a suspended animation within a cryptum. Easily disabling Chief with his powerful abilities, he declares the return of the Forerunners as the galaxy's rulers and saviors. Humanity remains weak and unworthy in his eyes of inheriting the mantle of responsibility, a view rejected by his wife, the Librarian. Having always revered the Forerunners as gods, the Covenant quickly swears allegiance to the Didact and its Prometheans. The Didact views the Covenant as mere primitives, but permits them to serve his cause to prevent the ascension of the human race to the galactic prominence. Narrowly escaping the collapse of the core facility, the Chief and Cortana return to the planet's surface only to find the warning to the Infinity came too late. The warship crashes more than 70 kilometers away with a massive force of Covenant and Promethean forces closing on their position. Evading capture, Chief is successful in regrouping with a group of Spartan Force and Marines led by Commander Thomas Lasky. Recognizing Chief immediately, Lasky joins Chief and Cortana to clear the landing zone so that the Infinity's ground forces can fall back onto the ship, which has fallen under siege. Commandeering a Scorpion, Chief leads the attack to the crippled vessel alongside the commander Sarah Palmer's Spartans. Using the UNSC's latest weapon, the Mantis exoskeleton, Chief rallies a force nearby the Marines and regains control of the ship's interior. After reinitializing the second MAC guns missile batteries, the tide turns in the UNSC's favor. 2 light cruisers and dozens of dropships are deployed in the artillery barrage while the Didax Scriptum is forced to retreat. With a momentary lull in the fighting, Chief is called to a strategy meeting with Andrew Del Rio, captain of the Infinity. Skeptical of the threat of the Prometheans, Rio orders the immediate attack on a Forerunner gravity well generator, preventing the ship from leaving. A strike force of Spartans led by Chief is deployed along with a mammoth ultra-heavy ground vehicle supporting the attack. Facing daunting odds, the UNSC is able to defeat a large armored strike force of Covenant and Prometheans and disable the gravity beam. Before reaching the objective, Chief is confronted with a vision from the deceased librarian who warns him of the Didax' true plans. In ancient times, the human race was once a great interstellar empire. Fleeing from the flood and destroying any world tainted with their presence, they came into contact with the Forerunners. Ignoring their warnings about the dangers posed by the parasite, the Forerunners' warriors led by the Didac defeated and imprisoned humanity upon their homeworld. Weakened by this struggle, the Forerunner were easy prey for the resurging flood. Defying the Forerunners' decision to accept the Halo Array as their final resort, the Didac used a device known as the Composer, capable of transferring organic consciousness to software format to convert his warriors into mechanical Promethean knights in order to combat the flood, which could only affect living tissue more effectively and without risk of infection. Lacking the sufficient numbers to turn the tide, the Didac used the Composer to conscript a large population of humans into his army, leading to the confiscation of the Composer and his imprisonment on Requiem. Opposing the Didac for her own reasons, the librarian provides Chief with a gift, a medical treatment to counteract the Forerunners' devolution of the human genome and means to resist the effects of the Composer, which the Didac plans to enslave humanity with again. Regrouping aboard Infinity, Captain Del Rio dismisses the threat of the Prometheans and prepares the ship to depart the system. Defying direct orders, Chief takes the increasingly unstable Cortana and departs the Infinity. Armed with the Pelican gunship provided by Commander Lasky, Chief launches several attacks on support pillars, providing the Didac Scriptum with shields and power, with the goal of preventing him from leaving the planet and attacking Earth. The attempt ultimately proves unsuccessful as the Didac leaves Requiem aboard his massive vessel, the Mantle's Approach, escorted by a flotilla of Covenant ships. Stowing away aboard a Lich, Master Chief pursues the Forerunner to Ivanov Station, a UNSC research base orbiting Halo Installation 3, where the Composer is kept. Dr. Sandra Tilson, a lead researcher aboard the base, helps give John the artifact amidst a swarm of attackers. Despite reaching the artifact first, the Didac is successful in obtaining the Composer, tearing it out of the station's hull with a gravity beam. Testing the weapon, the Composer burns the crew on the station to ash, harvesting their essence for power additional Prometheans. Chief then does survive this attack thanks to the genetic enhancements provided by the librarian. With the Composer, the Didac's possession, the Forerunner is poised to deal a death blow to the UNSC, and by extension humanity, racing back to Earth aboard a broadsword fighter stowed on the outer hull of the Didac ship. The Master Chief finds the Infinity and the UNSC battle group waiting for him. Flying beneath the Forerunner's vessel shields, Chief is able to destroy the ship's point defense guns, allowing the Infinity to bombard its hull. Entering through a breach in its armor, Chief fights his way to the Didac's location. Despite their best efforts, the Didac is able to fire the Composer at Earth, North America. Armed with the Havoc portable nuclear device, Chief confronts the Didac once again. While Chief is no match for the Forerunner's powerful abilities, Cortana, nearing the end of her life, immobilizes the Didac with hard light shackles. With the last of his strength, Chief defeats the Didact with a pulse grenade, sending him into a slip-space rupture beneath the composer and detonates the nuclear bomb manually. With the last of her power, Cortana is able to teleport Chief away from the vessel before it is destroyed and meets with Chief one last time inside a bubble of hard light. Overcome with emotions, Chief remarks that he was supposed to have protected her, and Cortana insists that they were supposed to protect each other, and they did. Using her hard light body, Cortana is able to actually touch Chief for the first time, which she says she's been wanting to do for a very long time. Smiling and seeming at peace, Cortana welcomes Chief home and then fades away completely, and Master Chief drifts into space amidst the debris of the Didact ship, for a time being recovered by a UNSC search and rescue team. Later, Chief speaks with the now Captain Lasky about the loss of his closest friend and companion. In the battle's aftermath, the UNSC team investigates the city of New Phoenix, where the composer's energy beam was directed. Although the infrastructure of vehicles and buildings are completely untouched, its former human inhabitants are gone. Aboard the Infinity, Chief rejoins Palmer and other Spartans preparing for the inevitable next battle, and his armor is removed for the first time in years. The final scene is overlaid with a speech given by the Didact to its fellow Forerunners after being accused of attempting to wipe out human life. In this speech, the Didact maintains his belief that only the Forerunners are worthy of the mantle, and that humanity should never be allowed to reclaim the Forerunners' accomplishments. While their defeat at Earth proved a setback for the Covenant and the Prometheans, it did not result in their defeat. Months later, the Infinity returns to Requiem with the complement of Spartans determined to claim the planet. The tour forms the background for the Requiem campaign covered in the Spartan Ops mode. So, another mouthful there, not quite as much as Reach, but,
Right.
It's still quite a bit. But again, I'm going to let you take over because that was a mouthful. What are your pros for this campaign?
Yeah, sure. So, as you know, Jared, I really enjoyed this campaign.
Yes.
We got to see Master Chief in a way that we never saw him before.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed more human in this game and just had a ton of character development.
Yeah.
That was really fleshed out compared to the other campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
It added so much more depth to one of the most iconic and beloved characters in gaming history.
Mm-hmm.
His relationship with Cortana held a lot more weight, with him racing against racing against the clock for her rampancy.
Mm-hmm.
343 did an amazing job introducing the Prometheans, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to fight against Forerunners was a dream come true for me.
Okay.
The Didact, was also super cool and just a really powerful antagonist. It was just fun to play against. The game felt, as if it was just like the culmination of all the previous game stories. And it's just like they came to a head and had the ultimate show of teamwork and bond between Cortana and Master Chief.
Right.
And, just the ending was just pretty emotional as, Cortana sacrificed herself.
Mm-hmm.
And just a side note, at that time, I did not know she was coming back.
Right.
But, also it was just cool to see, Lasky and Chief's connection from the Forward Unto Dawn series come into the campaign. I thought that was really cool. And, to me, overall, the game looked really good. I loved the art style in this one. It was a very realistic art style, and I love that.
Absolutely. And I love all of your points. I actually 100% agree with all of them. This game felt like they brought back Halo, and they brought it back really well. It was, I don't know how they did as well compared, looking back now, because we're 2 games later. But if they could have kept it like this game, we would be having different conversations right now.
Exactly.
Right. This game was awesome. Overall, I felt like the game did a great job introducing a new storyline with the proper lore. It didn't bring Cortana back from the dead, but it kept the idea of her eventually losing her life. And it showed relationship growth between her and Chief. I think it's a great start to a promising storyline. Now, I want to touch base on the storyline part because it feels like 5 and Infinite go away from this storyline to me. It feels like there's a huge disconnect, and I don't understand that. It's like they wanted to jump into something else completely different when they could have just kept this one,
Exactly.
Overall, I felt the gameplay was smooth on this game. It didn't feel clunky, and the guns didn't seem perfectly balanced, but they're all usable at some point. There wasn't just these random guns that you're never going to use. You can pick up anything on the ground and utilize it and get the game going, right?
Right.
But overall, I felt like it was a really good campaign. The story was great. I did like the progression of Cortana and Chief together, but also introducing that lore from before that.
Right.
I just wish that 343 had continued this,
Exactly, especially for it being like the first of a new saga. They called it the Reclaimer saga.
Right.
And the first installment of the Reclaimer saga feels so different from the last two.
Exactly. And I just don't understand that,
Right.
So what are the cons of this campaign? I don't have much to say here, but for me, I'm just going to push this part here. The story was good. It didn't feel clunky, but I would have to say the one thing that I don't care for is that Chief and Cortana really develop like true human feelings in their relationship.
Right.
And to me, that's just kind of odd for an AI. I'm cool with Chief developing it because, he is a human and it shows a different type of growth. But for me, an AI to develop it, it's just not my cup of tea. It's not bad. It's just.
And you're talking about like romantic feelings?
Yes. This is strictly romantic feelings, really. And that's kind of what it felt like these two were doing,
Sure.
But that's my opinion. So what about you, bud?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much, but I do remember like kind of cringing at the voice acting of Captain Del Rio. He was like screaming at Master Chief.
Yeah.
Although, it just may have been just how he was meant to be portrayed at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember not liking that. But
right.
That's like the most minor thing ever.
Yeah.
But I mean, going back to your point, it is kind of, a little bit weird that like if you're seeing it as more of like a romantic relationship between Chief and Cortana. But I definitely saw it more as like, like really, really close friends bond. And then, I mean, she was made with some of Cortana's, or not Cortana,
Halsey.
Dr. Halsey's DNA as well.
Right.
And we need to get Bub in here for that. But so she kind of has like this human aspect to her. But I definitely understand where you're coming from because it is kind of like, a little different.
And I get that. It's a personal thing for me. That's all.
Right.
So I'm going to let you take over. Do you have any favorite or good memories of this campaign?
Okay, so the one that really just came to the, forefront of my mind here was just, playing this game, the campaign, with my brother after we moved houses. It made our new house just feel like a home because we got to, continue doing what we've always done at our old home over to this new area. And it's just like, okay, everything's going to be okay. We have our video games. We have Halo here. We're still going to play at every release the campaigns and the split screen co-op. So it was just like one of those really good, bonding memories outside of the game.
Right. It's always good to tie memories and good memories to something like this. And, people do it with music a lot and some people do it with gaming. And this is one of those situations where you did it with gaming. For me, plenty of good memories playing this campaign. The most important of them is that this game felt like Halo was back for me.
Right.
It felt like we were going to be able to continue what we had left off after ODST and Reach. And it just brought me back to my roots and my early adulthood. And, it felt like I was able to recapture that again,
Right.
It didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to get old and, can't do anything anymore and just have nothing left. No, it felt like we were going back.
Right. Some nostalgia there too, and then just also just reliving that. That's awesome.
Exactly. So jumping down into bad memories of the game, I don't have any. I've done just fine with this game. I have no bad memories of it at all. What about you, bud?
Well, for some reason, I would have trouble fighting the crawlers, which are like basically the Promethean grunts in the game, which frustrated me.
Right.
And my brother would laugh at me. But, other than that, it was solid. That's not really a bad memory. It's just like, man, he was making fun of me because I was sucking at the game.
Right. Okay, so getting into why we ranked it third overall out of all the games, and we gave it an A ranking. So I felt it was a great game overall. It didn't strike me as an S-tiered game, even though I believe you might put it there.
Yes.
It was great, and I think it caused me to keep it lower because of the relationship between Chief and Cortana. To me, I felt it was more romantic, and you felt maybe a little different, but we discuss it, and I could see it, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Right.
So her developing those human relationship feelings, it's not my thing. I do understand why they did it, though. It really bonds the two characters, and people really wanted it. I could tell they did. And I'm sure there are many major Halo fans out there that are going to disagree with me on this, and that's okay. But overall, the game made me remember my roots. I remembered the fun times with the Halo franchise, and I think it deserves to be ranked highly. I just wish 343 had not messed this up with the games following this, because this was a great start for them. They did awesome here, and it definitely deserves an A, maybe an S on an occasion or two. But overall, the two games left, it just can't top. So I had to leave it third, and I gave it an A. So what about you, bud?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, this game is S tier. But, I understand I have a personal bias towards this game. So it's probably good that we're doing an average score between us.
Right.
Or else, I would definitely skew this game's ranking in a different direction.
Right.
But I mean, this game, had me on the edge of my seat for just, more backstory into the Forerunners, the ancient human race, the Flood.
Yep.
Just facing new enemies and just, the overall character development.
Absolutely.
And, however, I do have to agree with, what you were saying. We still have two other games that are they're even better than this one.
Exactly. So do you have anything else you want to add on this one? I know it's your game, man.
Oh, man. I do want to, make more comments about like the Master Chief Cortana thing, the human thing.
Yeah.
All I want to say is like Cortana seemed more human than Chief was, and he seemed more like the machine. And I love that aspect, and to where like Master Chief was questioning, who was the machine here? Was it her or was it me this whole time? I love that. I love that message in the game too.
That was a great message. It really was.
Yeah. And just the overall character development, Jared, it's top tier for me, and I love it. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely. So, all right, we'll leave it off there. Everyone, if you would, hit us up on any of our socials. We'd love to hear from you. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever you want. And then also go ahead and listen to any of our podcasts from previous episodes at wherever you listen and get your podcast. So, until next time, keep gaming and keep having fun.